Hello wonderful family, this is yet another beautiful video idea. Here I'm going to be showing you how to make a wrapper cake using the idea of the wrapper you already have in the house. How to trim, how to cover it, how to create indentation, and also how to make a ball for your calabash or your gauge cake, whichever one you decide to call it. I will also be teaching you how to make the upper part of the gauge cake, that is the mouth of the gauge. I'm also going to be giving you an idea on how to make your box, the box that will be carrying the wrapper cake. I'm also going to be teaching you how to suspend a box on air, assuming you don't want the bottom of the box to be on the board. I'm only going to throw a little light about that for you. To start with, I am your host, Mrs. Viola Ugwede, the Chief Executive Officer of Various Cakes and More. For my subscribers, I welcome you all. For my intending subscribers, I am happy to be with you all. Please subscribe, like, and share this video so that others will be able to see it. Click the link below to join our Telegram group. Click the link below to follow my Instagram handle. Note, in case you have any question, I would prefer you ask me in the group so that others also can learn from it. Happy viewing. Now, this is the wrapper I have in the house, and this wrapper is going to help me to get a very clear idea on how to carve my cake. So watch me. You can see how I'm folding it. Now, I folded the wrapper in such a way that I will have 3 layers. Now, looking at the wrapper, you will see that this side has a curve. Now, there is an indentation, another indentation after the second layer, okay? And before me, you will notice another curve from the second layer, looking at the opposite side of the first curve from the first layer, okay? So we are going to be setting the cloth aside, that is the wrapper aside, and we will be working exactly on our cake, looking at the idea on the wrapper. Now, it is not as if I will not be able to trim without using the wrapper, but as a beginner or as somebody who has not actually learned before, this wrapper is going to be a serious guide for you. Now, these are the cakes I have for the wrapper, and for this cake I have used just 1 kg of butter to get all the 3 rectangular cakes and the calabash, that is the gauge cake, okay? So, and each one of them is 1.5 inches high. All right, each one of them, the height is 1.5 inches, but the length and the width is 12 by 8 inches. All right, the length is 12 and the width is 8 inches. Now start by layering the cakes. You can see I've applied my buttercream on the first one, and I'm about to place the second one. Okay, so remember, all these cakes are coming out from my fridge, as the best way to preserve your vanilla cake is by placing them in the freezer. For those of us that don't like using preservative, I don't use preservative, so for me to really have a cake that will last, it must pass through my freezer. So I've been able to place the second one, and I am again applying my buttercream on top to position the third one. With my knife, I noticed that it is too much. That is the height, the gap between is too much when I decided to turn upside down. So what do? I had to trim out the hilly part of the cake in order for the next cake to be well balanced on top, because that is actually what you need. You do not need a space between the cakes. All the cakes must sit together properly for you to be able to give a good trimming and carving without stress. Now we have layered the cake. The next thing, you look at the wrapper. Look at this part of the wrapper. You see it's curved. So the first thing we are going to do now is to make sure we curve one part of the cake. Now take it easy and make sure that your cake is a bit stable, that is a bit strong. Not too hard that people will begin to chew it like biscuits. But it shouldn't be too soft like the chocolate and the red velvet would have given you. Let it just be the vanilla, okay? And then trim. Give it a very good trimming as you curve. You are cutting it, you are curving at the same time as you aim to curve to the bottom. This is the same thing you will be doing until that place is completely curved like the bottom of a U. Now this part of the wrapper is done. So after this part, we are going to go over to the other side, the other opposite part, and start again. Okay, so to the opposite side, you look at the wrapper again. You notice that the curve this time started from the second layer of the wrapper to the down one. That is after removing the upper one. The next curve started from the second layer, and that's exactly what we are going to do now. So for that one, you start from the second layer, going directly under the upper layer. Okay, now from that you continue to, in order to get your curve first, you now go down and go directly under the last layer to get the curve. All right, now as you're trying to get this, remember you are working on the 2-layer alone. So for the curve to show very well, you are going to be cutting off a little from the upper layer, that is from under the upper layer. So remember, you should always curve in, don't just cut straight. Even if you are going to the bottom, you curve into the bottom. That's the only best way to achieve the curve. But you have to do it gradually. Do not be in a hurry in order to achieve this. After that, like I said, you go over to the upper layer and then cut out a little, so that the whole thing you have just trimmed now will be obvious enough. See that? So we have been able to achieve that. The next thing we're going to do now is to go to the side. Now look at the wrapper again. You see it has 3 lines, 3 partitions. Now those holes in between the partitions is what we want to achieve now. So the next now is to work on our cake to achieve what you are just looking at on the wrapper. Now remember that one side of the wrapper was folded into the middle. Okay, that means there is a stopper there. Okay, so that is what we are going to create now. That part where the other edge of the wrapper stopped at the middle, that's what we want to create now. Like I said, your craft knife is always the best knife when it comes to this. Okay, you first of all remove something from that part that will show that the wrapper stopped there, and then you take a little from the upper and the middle one to create the indentation at the middle. Okay, the same thing you are still going to do, taking a little from the middle and a little from the first layer. Please, my lovely people, subscribe if you have not. Just click on the subscription button and then like the video, okay, by giving me a thumbs up there. This will help YouTube recommend the videos to other people. Please, my people, I would really appreciate that. Also, I want to hear from you what you think about this video on the comment section. God bless you. The next thing you are going to do, use that same knife and remove everything that is supposed to be removed, that is not part of your design. That is, if you notice any part that shoots out, you just remove it. Forget about all the lines that is not supposed to be among the part of the curve. They will all be covered with our buttercream and our fondant. Okay, and at the end of the day, every design concerning the wrapper will appear. Now for the other part of it, that is the second side of the wrapper, the opposite of the part we just did. You are going to do the same thing. First, you remove where the wrapper is supposed to stop, and then you carve out a little from the upper layer and a little from the middle layer and remove it. You carve the same thing downside, a little from the middle layer and a little from the first layer, okay, and then you remove. That is all, and you have gotten your wrapper. Next, you look at the side of the cake. They are not very straight, okay? The 3 layers from up to down is supposed to be straight, but because you are looking at it, you may not notice it. But I'm noticing that it's not straight. I had to trim to get it straight. I'm also going to do the same thing on the other part of it, that is the 2 sides. So we need a very straight and clean carved wrapper. Remember, however, whatever it gives you when you are carving is what it will give you when you are covering your fondant. So you have to be careful and make sure that everything is the way you want it, so that it will give you a very clean wrapper. So there you are. The next thing we're going to do now is to apply our butter. Remember, I have just cleaned my surface, okay? My work table, I just cleaned everything before I started. So gradually begin to apply your butter and make sure you did not dent the cake by removing any part that you have just carved in the name of applying your butter, okay? Make sure you apply it meticulously to avoid any dent. Cakes are very fragile. Any part you remove that you have finished carving automatically will change the shape of what you have gotten. So you have to apply your butter gently so that you wouldn't wound any part or make any part fall out from the shape. Just go ahead and apply it as if you're applying your normal cake. Apply every part. The side you created indentations or designs, you will use your hand with your hand glove and remove the excess butter there, and that is what I am going to be doing right here. So you can see I'm using my middle finger. You can use your index finger. Anyone you think is comfortable enough for you, just go ahead and use it and gradually remove the excess butter. Remember, the reason why we apply butter is to be able to hold down our fondants. Okay, so excess butter is not allowed, else it will be wobbling and you may not like the outcome. Next, you roll out your fondant and cover it. Now, I will always advise you to cover it with a thicker fondant, okay? But the one I'm using is not very thick. Because it is a class, I'm not going to recover it. If I'm giving it to a client, I would have recovered it. Because this lighter one, my boy didn't actually know what I wanted and I didn't want the effort to be a waste. That's why I'm just using it like that. Okay, now you have to cover it like you're covering your normal cake. Make everything straight as you're covering it. Don't mind the indentations. The indentations will be marked out later. Okay, it will be marked out later. If you begin to cover with your indentation, your covering will be very rough. Okay, if you want to cover it and at the same time you're bringing out the designs, it will be very rough. Just do your normal covering like you're covering a square or round cake. Cut out the excess and then you can now start bringing out your indentation. But there's one thing that is very important that you must note. That is cutting out the excess fondant. When you want to do that, you get your scraper, you push in. Okay, when you place your scraper there, wherever you want to cut off, you push in under it some fondant with a pressure, with your strength. Okay, just add a little strength, not your entire strength. Okay, so you will not scatter the cake, don't mind me. So you push in some fondant. At the point when you pushed it in, don't remove your hand, cut there and then you bring out your hand. Okay, now this is to help you in a way that the cake under will not show. But if you just go ahead and cut it anyhow you like, under of your cake will be showing and you will not like it. Now I'm using my middle finger also to bring out the design. This time I am doing it gradually and carefully because I don't want it to tear. If you do it by force, it will tear and you start again. Okay, so don't do it by force. Take it easy. You see how I'm pampering it in order for it to bring out the design without tearing the fondant, because actually the fondant I'm using is not very is not thick. It's a very light fondant. So you see what I did? I had to push in some fondant under the cake before I now cut. Okay, the same thing I'm doing here, pushing first and then you cut. If you don't push it in, you will not like the outcome at the end of it all. So that's what I'm going to do, all the four corners, and I will be left with a very neat covered wrapper cake. After covering, you remove the excess and then allow it to stay overnight. Not that you cannot decorate immediately. I can, but because I want to spray it with water and color, I want it to dry very well, else it may affect it. So I have to keep it 24 hours before I start again. Okay, so now it's time for decoration. Now, after working on it, set it aside to rest until 24 hours being the next day. Okay, and after that you mix your white color with your sorry, you mix your blue color with water. Okay, then with airbrush machine you can go ahead and spray. If you don't have airbrush machine, you just go ahead and mix your color with water and then use your foam to spray it. The reason is because sometimes when you use edible spirit, it gives it patches that you may not really like, but water and color will always make it very unique. And that is why I had to allow the cake to dry overnight, because I don't want the cake to be too wet after spraying my color. Okay, so I go ahead and spray my color, and after spraying my color, the design will start. Now I want you to have one thing in mind: there is no particular design that is meant for a wrapper cake. As you have variety of wrappers in the market, the same way you have variety of wrappers in cake making. So you choose your design. Any design at all is allowed. Nobody will question you. You are not going to receive any question from anybody for whatever you choose to design. Okay, right now I am painting the lace I had in the house. I'm just painting because I want to use the lace for at least to map out what really makes it look like a wrapper. You can use your fondant, you can use your flower paste, anything at all you decide to use to decorate your wrapper. You can even just use ordinary bead. All of them are designs. Nobody will question you. So after everything, I am trying to now steam it, because the lace I am using is so dried that if I use it like that directly, it may break. So I'm also steaming the lace to give it a little weakness so that I can apply it on the cake. If you notice very well, you find out that part of the lace is almost broken, and if I go ahead to bring it down, it will just scatter. So I had to use my steamer to weaken it before I can bend it down. Okay, that is exactly what I try to achieve. So I'll do the same thing I did this part to the other side of it. Now, after covering that part, remember the side that is folded in also is a mouth part of a wrapper. Okay, you are still going to put something there that will make you know, or make anybody know, that what you are making is actually wrapper. That alone is enough if you don't want to go for further designs on the wrapper. At this point, I can just decide to put some beads on the body, or even leave it that way. We still have wrappers like that in the market. But I'm going to go ahead and use some fondant, which is not necessary, to just place on top, so that you know that you can still use your fondant to design your wrapper. So now this is the mold I have used to bring out some. I'm only showing you what I did. I've already been able to unmold some of the fondant using that, and I'm going to be painting it. And after painting, I will just scatter it all over the wrapper. And next, after scattering that, I embellish it with some beads, sugar beads, and you are good to go for that of the wrapper. So like I said, you can use anything you like on your wrapper cake, as long as it will give you the design you want. So that is it. Okay, we're going to be stopping at this wrapper. The next video that will be coming will now be the calabash. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.